Yo, yo. What's going on? How's everybody doing? El Jefe, back at it. Base Hunter, what's up? Good to see ya, good to see ya. El Jefe is always first. He's the man. He's the boss. El Jefe. Just gonna finish running through some scans. Hop into some main watches. I just did a bit of the chat logs review in IU. Nate gave us some homework tonight to review some commentary and levels on some key names. So I just ran through that quick and then gonna hop on here. Lightbridge, we got that 10 shove in pre-market. Fun, breaking out. Qbit, increasing volume. Adding all these to the list. Q, nice breakout with no overhead. That's kind of like the Gry chart. NERC needs some more volume, but that daily's starting to extend. HTCO, not enough volume. Good evening. How's it going, Golan? We're able to pull quite a few from that list there. Any names you guys are watching going into tomorrow, feel free to throw them in the chat. Ideally with some plans attached to it. I can see what you guys are thinking. Maybe I like them for a trade. Something that's not on my radar or something. John F. What's going on? I don't recall seeing your name in here. You might be new. First screen. A lot of names just popping up. Chivo back to new highs. Lightbridge still popping on more scans. It's just another manic Monday. When you do, honey. I like that fun look. Dozen! How are you, my friend? Franklin Espinoza. Franklin. Have we met? Franklin. Welcome to the stream. Give me a little goat emoji. Goat better than a sheep. Oklo keeps extending. Base Hunter's looking at INAB. Oklo keeps going. Ideally, that goes for another couple days. If that were to be able to run into like a Thursday-Friday trade, that'd be nice. INAB, what's this daily looking like for screen day? No real overhead anywhere nearby. Ran late day into the close. IONQ, that's looking decent. Only up 40% from 50%, I guess. From 10 to 15, so ideally that keeps going too. Maybe these large caps get an options trade out of it. Like, I don't trade options, but like get an options driven trade with that Thursday, Friday expiration. If they can run later in the week, it'd be fairly A+. Is IONQ, is that the quantum names? Yeah. Quantum computing. Is that sympathy similar to LiDAR? Nuclear name. So Lightbridge is moving with stuff like Oklo. Does IONQ have any nuclear stuff? Quantum computing, but I don't see any nuclear attached to it. But Lightbridge is with the nuclear names. Over the chat, yes, but not in person. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the name looked familiar. I didn't know if we had met before, but it could have just been online. So many people, especially going to Vegas and stuff at Traders for a Cause, meaning hundreds of people a year. It's it's really hard to remember everybody. A lot of times I can recognize faces, but it's hard to connect the names. Do my best. Fader list, fairly short. Not a whole lot on there. Stack failing. Drug did pull back a little bit today, but it's still, what's it at? Almost $50 still from like $1. It's crazy. Another few, and then flip back to DAS. There we go. So I'll start running down my list here. I've added quite a few names. So it's getting fairly extensive at this point. So you get this sped up daily where it hasn't broken prior day's lows, and that trend continued to hold today. It didn't break prior day's lows, and now breaking over prior day's highs. So on something like this, I like any weak opens versus prior bar lows on the daily for a big picture swing trade, especially given that fun has now broken out over the 760s and that $8 range. So any weak opens on this, I like a long. It's gapping down so far in after hours, so ideally a bigger gap down. Flat open even. If we were to get a morning flush straight down, something like this, straight down, and then ideally a V-shaped recovery. So I'll keep that one on watch. Drug, no real plan on this one, but just noting that it pulled back there today. VSME, I was looking for a backside bounce. which it did get, but just no volume came in. So it was more just a steady grind. Nothing really that I was interested in touching. Sure, it bounced, but wasn't going to be a sizable trade anyways. News, as expected, trading in its channel, waiting to see which way this wants to break. If it wants to lick trap or if it wants to failed fall through. So see which way that one wants to move. F-ish. First day runner, pull back, and this one's got a bunch of overhead resistance, so I'd need to... I just hate how far it's faded off its highs, traded very halty, and now you got resistance right by overhead, so nothing I really want to bounce either. Bivy, I had taken a trade on this one this morning into pre-market highs looking left. I felt like let me go back here. I felt like I was fairly patient. I waited for the move, pull back, let it stuff versus prior highs, and I put some on. I didn't want to expect it to fail off of here, but given once it did, and then I set a stop right at high a day. So save myself $3 a share there. And they did put out an offering here in late day into close. So it was a nice clean opportunity once it broke down, as long as you're not kind of scaling into lows and then stopping out into highs. But I think could have a cleaner opportunity on this, given that it didn't go red yet. I think could get a pullback back to like the 180s or so, back down to prior lows. Especially now that we've got overhead resistance, we've got a blow-off day, hasn't gone red. Tomorrow I'd expect to be the first red day. So now we got overhead resistance in terms of traders and overhead resistance in terms of paper. So any pops tomorrow, I'm interested for a first red day short. JDZG, multi-day runner, going from 60 up to 260. That's like a 4x, and now pull back from the 260s to the 140s. So possible bounce trade, kind of like VSME, VSME. And you can see where the volume profile has kind of stopped, basically. Once it's under these 130s, 140s, it's everybody's bagged. So I'd be looking at dips versus 130 as a guide, and then possible rally back into the low twos. So if we get a weak open and then opening range highs as a trigger. GRI was the plan from Watchlist yesterday, looking for a JDZG trade where you get this breakout and then an overextended gap up. So it was up well over 70% by market open. And again, I didn't want to predict this to fail, but once it failed, SSR was on because it was down 10% at one point yesterday. So SSR was on, so I was not going to chase it, but I waited for a bounce and was risking the highs. And then once we got this lower high and prior lows breakdown, I started to scale in and moved risk down to the 140s, and it just didn't continue to roll over, so I sized right out and moved on. Saved myself a little swipe there through VWAP, but as you can see, looking left, prior support acted as resistance, and at this point I was looking to get off desk anyways. So that was a nice exhaustion point, and then could have scaled back in on lower highs for that little rollover, but I just wasn't around for it. And this is the same kind of opportunity as, was it Bivy, I believe, where you get this multi-day run, hasn't gone red, and now everybody is bagged from this overextended gap up. So any and all pops, looking for a $1 breakdown and a round trip gap fill on something like this. LTBR, daily chart wise, is starting to extend itself, as we saw with those China names recently. Sector moves tend to last a lot longer than you think, long side and short side. Once momentum comes in, there tends to be buyers on all pullbacks, and then once the sector starts to fail, there tends to be sellers on all pops. So technical chart wise, this I think has room back down to like the 680s into this volume profile level. If 8s were to act heavy, that would be below prior day's resistance, which was a lot higher of a volume candle. The breakout here only in the 5s, almost 100% move. So not really an A plus. I'd call this more like a C plus trade. So whether I really want to trade it or not, I think my services would be better focused on Gry and Bivy than this one, but I still will be keeping it on watch for a similar setup. SIDA, day one gapper. I didn't trade this one today, but after that morning fail, all lower highs, basically until 12 p.m. and then sideways the rest of the day. So you've got this key support level in the 160s. If that breaks down, everybody's underwater from day one and could be a possible quiet idea going into tomorrow. GNPX, the chosen one today, no overhead resistance. Nate posted a thread on Twitter comparing this to MRIN back from 2020s, back in here. And then, was it Mullen? No, it was Mark. Oh, that's an OTC now. And then there was another one. I can't remember. But MRIN is the one that sticks out for me right now. Oh, it was Peggy. That's what it was. Back from 2020. One of these days. Maybe this day. 2022. So he was comparing GNPX from the action that he saw on it today. And this little sub-VWAP trap right here was all he needed to see for the squeeze out. So weak opens on this. I think I'd like a trend join on something like this. Big enough gap up. I would not short this one. I think I'm going to stay fairly long bias on something like this. Checking in a little late. What's up, Tina? But I think I'm kind of like I'm fairly long bias on this, just given the action and how it's setting up. So even if this were to gap up 70% plus, I wouldn't trade it for an overextended gap down. I'd wait for some sort of daily consolidation and trade that for a secondary leg. But ideally weak opens and can join that for a second day two move. Qubit popped on our FinViz scans here, running from the 70s up to the 120s, so not quite 100%. But this is a quantum name, so likely moving with stuff like IONQ. And this one's just in the small cap realm, kind of similar to Tour. If you were trading it with the China basket, where you get this multi-day run, and it's a nice quiet opportunity. So something like that on Qubit might be a bit easier and less crowded if something like IONQ starts to pull back. I'd like to see this one go quite a bit higher, maybe 150s, 180s, something like that. But I will keep this one just on a list and just tend to monitor it over the coming days. And then Q, this one is a big picture breakout setup through the 140s. Held it as lows and consolidation. So decent little parabolic, needed to reset and pull back, but held throughout the rest of the day. So I'd be looking for a 140s flush off the open, and then a re-break of the opening range highs for a scale. And as long as this doesn't stuff and continue to fail off 160s, if it continues to build 140s, 160s, I think this has a chance to get back to 2. So intraday wise, doesn't look the strongest, but once you zoom out to higher time frames, as long as 140s acts as a base, I think this could see higher prices. So quite the list. I had a lot of stuff pop on Scanner tonight. Jenica, with her sincerest apologies for being late. I think we should send this to the democracy in the chat. Let's take a vote. She's very sorry that she's late. Should her question be read and answered? BSEE. I have not touched on it. Overhead resistance looking left. Healthcare name, so biotech. Software services platform for telehealth. Up big in after hours, sideways today. So it hasn't really picked a trend. Volume's fairly light compared to that overhead resistance day. Right over here. So if I throw some VWAP lines, if there's parabolics into those levels that start to fail to follow through, could be opportunity. There's no real plan on something like this for me right now. The daily is starting to curl off the lows. Volume's only been in there for the last 2 days, so up from 140 to 250 is not extended enough, and there's not enough consolidation for me to consider a long. So no real plan on it tomorrow, but something that I would set price alerts for like 350, 450, and just be alerted if it gets up to those prior resistance levels from over here. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't have to take up my screen real estate. That would be my thoughts on that. She shall be forgiven and granted the answer. Tina and Jenica, the ladies sticking together. Oh, look at that. Jenica's so grateful. How would I dare to even consider it? I was just kidding. Of course, no problem. I like these small little group chats. All the big YouTube channels are like overrun with Q&A and whatnot. Just get so busy. With this kind of stuff, it's just casual. I talk about my plans. You guys mention your trades, your plans, ask questions. I just like it. But I've gone over everything I need to go over. Went through my watch list, names I'm watching. DJT and Fun to the long side. Big picture, they're finally starting to break out. Bivy, GRI, multi-day runners. Looking for overextension into bag holders. JDZG, possible backside bounce. GNPX, looking for bigger picture longs on something like that. Qubit, higher the better. Sympathy with IO and Q. And then Q, possible weak opens if it holds versus 140s. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up there. Let me know. Base Hunter says thank you. Alrighty. Well, I think I will wrap it up there. It's never a problem. I love doing it. I could talk shop about this stuff all day long. And I like that you guys can come and hang out and get to enjoy it as well. So, thank you guys, as always. Get in where you fit in. Make some memories. And I'll see you guys in the room. Peace.